Taos Hum. The hum is a phenomenon or collection of phenomena involving widespread reports of a persistent and invasive low-frequency humming, rumbling, or droning noise not audible to all people. Hums have been widely reported by national media in the UK and the United States. A study into the Taos Hum, which is in New Mexico, indicated that at least 2% could hear it. Each hearer at different frequencies between 32 Hz and 80 Hz, modulated from 0.5 to 2 Hz. Similar results have been found in an earlier British study. It seems to be possible for hearers to move away from it. With one hearer of the Taos Hum reporting, its range was about 48 kilometers. There are approximately equal percentage of males and female hearers. Age does appear to be a factor, with middle-aged people being more likely to hear it. But a variety of theories have been offered as explanations, ranging from the mundane to the fascinating, the psychological to the paranormal. Stoned hippies, government secrets, mind control experiments, underground UFO bases, and everything in between have been blamed. But the hum seems to have been first reported in the early 1990s. La Llorona. La Llorona was a caring woman full of life and love who married a wealthy man who lavished her with gifts and attention. However, after she bore him 2 sons, he began to change, returning to a life of womanizing and alcohol, often leaving her for months at a time. He seemingly no longer cared for the beautiful Maria, even talking about leaving her to marry a woman of his own wealthy class. When he did return home, it was only to visit his children, and the devastated Maria began to feel resentment towards the boys. One evening, Maria was strolling with her 2 children on a shady pathway near the river. Her husband came by in carriage with an elegant lady beside him. He stopped and spoke to his children but ignored Maria, and then drove the carriage down the road without looking back. After seeing this, Maria went into a terrible rage and, turning against her own children, she seized them and threw them into the river. As they disappeared down the stream, she realized what she had done and ran down the bank to try to save them, but it was too late. Maria broke down into inconsolable grief, running down the streets, screaming and wailing. The beautiful La Llorona mourned them day and night. During this time, she would not eat, and walked along the river in her white gown searching for her boys, hoping that they would somehow come back to her. She cried endlessly as she roamed the riverbanks, and her gown became soiled and torn. When she continued to refuse to eat, she grew thinner and appeared taller, until she looked like a walking skeleton. Still a young woman, she finally died on the banks of the river. And legend has it, if you are by a large body of water, you will hear La Llorona's wails, screams, and shrieks. But remember, don't go towards them, because she might pull you into the river next. Hart Canyon Flying Saucer. On March 25, 1948, a UFO was detected and picked up on their scopes by 3 separate and strategically located radar units in the southwestern part of the United States. It's theorized that the beam from one of the radars had some kind of effect on the central control system of the flying object, for immediately it seemed to go out of control. The following is an overview of the crash and recovery of the UFO and allegedly 16 humanoid occupants near Aztec, New Mexico. When the UFO crashed, a team of scientists arrived at the site a little later than the IPU team and began dissecting this disc. According to Steinman, they entered a craft one by one, entry having been gained via a fractured porthole. As described by Scully, the man who allegedly saw the crash account. The portholes themselves looked metallic and only appeared translucent on close inspection. Inside the craft, they found 2 humanoids about 2 feet tall in height, slumped over an instrument, parallel, charred deep brown. Another 12 bodies laid sprawled on the floor of the chamber within the cabin, making a total of 14 and not 16 as Scully had described. Dr. Bork, a psychologist and biochemist, examined the bodies and asked Bush to get a hold of cryogenic equipment so they can preserve these creatures. 3 days later, the segments were loaded onto 3 trucks together with the bodies and transported. Marked explosives. The convoy headed at night by the least conspicuous and most laborious route to the Naval Auxiliary Airfield Complex in Los Alamos, arriving a week later. Here they remained for over a year before being transported to another base. According to reports, the bodies were described as averaging 42 inches in length. The facial features strongly resembled Mongoloid Orientals in appearance, with disproportionately large heads, large slant eyes, small noses and mouths. The average weight was about 40 pounds, and the torsos were very small and thin, with very thin necks. The arms were long and slender, reaching the knees, with hands containing large and slender fingers with webbing between them. There was no digestive or gastrointestinal tract, no alimentary or intestinal canal, and no rectal point. No reproductive organs were apparent, and instead of blood, there was a colorless liquid with no red blood cells, which smelled similar to ozone. Though many believe that this very elaborate account is a hoax, a large amount believe it as fact. What do you think? Kimo Theater. The Kimo Theater, a Pueblo Dico picture palace, was opened on September 19, 1927, by a man named Orsti Bachechi. Bachechi, a motivated entrepreneur from humble origins, who came to the United States in 1885. In 1925, he decided to achieve his true dream, building his own theater. At the cost of $150,000, the theater opened on September 19th of 1927, during the time when silent movies were the all-consuming rage of Americans. Just 1 year after realizing his dream, he died, leaving the management of the Kimo to his 2 sons. In 1951, a 6-year-old boy named Bobby Darnell was killed when a boiler in the basement exploded, demolishing part of the original lobby. The boiler was located right beneath the concession stand in the lobby. Bobby, who had been sitting in the theater balcony with some of his friends, suddenly was frightened by something on the screen and ran down the staircase to the lobby. Just as he arrived, the boiler exploded, taking Bobby and part of the lobby in its wake of the destruction. It's said that the spirit of little Bobby continues to haunt the Kimo Theater today. And another tragedy had occurred at the Kimo. In 1963, a fire destroyed the original 1927 stage and damaged much of the rest of the building. Slated for the wrecking ball, the Kimo was saved in 1977 when citizens of Albuquerque voted to purchase the beautiful building. But not only is the theater home to Bobby Darnell, the boy who died in the explosion, but also to a mysterious lady who is seen walking amongst the hallways, said to have perished in the fire, though no concrete facts can prove this. This unknown woman who's wearing a bonnet has often been reported walking down hallways of the theater, appearing to just be going about her business. Nothing more is known of her, but seemingly she doesn't disturb anyone. She just likes to stroll about the old theater. Forrest Fenn's treasure. In 1988, Forrest Fenn was diagnosed with cancer. By then, he was already a local legend in his hometown of Santa Fe, New Mexico. He'd arrived in the early 70s, a mysterious, square-jawed Air Force veteran with small savings and a high school diploma. He quickly earned a reputation as a treasure hunter in his controversial exploits throughout the American Southwest. Fenn amassed a collection of ancient artifacts ranging from hand-woven baskets to Setting Bull's original peace pipe. With a decade, he was running an art gallery with $6 million in annual sales, catering to clients like Steven Spielberg and Gerald Ford. Facing his grim prognosis, Fern says that he stuffed a 10 by 10 by 6 inch Romanesque chest with some of the finest treasures he'd ever acquired over the years. Pre-Columbian jewelry, gold nuggets the size of chicken eggs, ancient jade carvings, emeralds, diamonds, plus a copy of his autobiography. Fenn planned to drag this haul into the mountains and die beside it. But he beat cancer, and for 20 years the chest sat, swathed in a red bandana in his study. 2 decades later, around 2010, an aging Fenn decided that it was time to cement his legacy. He left his home, drove somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, and hid the chest. In a subsequent memoir, The Thrill of the Chase, he revealed the treasure to the public and offered a 24-line poem containing 9 ambiguous clues leading to its precise location. No one has found it as of yet, but the hunt for the treasure is still going on today, and it even has its own r/ on Reddit, where hunters help each other and talk about theories of where they think it is. I hope you ghouls enjoyed these New Mexico urban legends. Of course I had to put La Llorona in here. I was gonna do Chupacabra, but I feel like I've done him so much. We talk about him on the streams, we talk about him in other videos, so I figured I'd do something else. I really liked the UFO story. It would be cool if it was real. I mean, who knows? It was in, like the 40s, so it could have happened. Who knows? They didn't really have that much scientific stuff back in the day, and, ways to take accurate photos and whatnot. I also really like this treasure thing. And I was looking through the r/ and holy crap, there's like videos on there. There's people talking about stuff. It's like its own little community. And I hope someone finds it, because that sounds like a lot of money in a chest. And of course, he had to put a shameless plug of his fucking autobiography in there, which I thought was hilarious. And every time I tried to record that line, I chuckled. So you can kind of hear the chuckle in there, because it's just like, of course he put his autobiography in there. Why wouldn't he? But yeah, ghouls, as always, the last video will be on the top left, the next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen, as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.